Good night, viewers. Here are tonight's headlines. Counselors involved in the illegal sale of state lands are set to face charges. Attorney General Anil Nandlal has announced a review of the cybercrime law. Authorities are investigating the death of Derek Satin Persad in Cummings Lodge, while a friendship man has been sentenced to 12 years for manslaughter. A 57-year-old man was found deceased in his Georgetown apartment, and police officers are under investigation for their alleged involvement in illegal aircraft and drug trafficking in the Interior District. Stay tuned for more updates on these developing stories. "57-year-old man found deceased in Georgetown apartment." Authorities are investigating the death of 57-year-old Anthony Kissoon, a Guyanese national of East Indian descent, who was found deceased in his Georgetown apartment on Tuesday, September 3, 2024. The discovery was made by Kissoon's cousin, Frederick Kissoon, who had visited the apartment at Lot 72 Hadfield Street after Anthony mentioned feeling unwell earlier. Upon arrival at approximately 1550 hours, Frederick detected an unpleasant odor emanating from the residence. Upon entering, he found Anthony unresponsive on the bedroom floor. Detectives from the Criminal Investigation Department, CID, were immediately dispatched to the scene, accompanied by emergency medical personnel. A doctor from the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation later confirmed Anthony Kissoon's death on site. Preliminary investigations conducted by the CID revealed no signs of foul play or physical injury. The scene was meticulously processed by the CID team and crime laboratory to gather relevant evidence. Anthony Kissoon's body has since been transported to Memorial Gardens Funeral Home, where a post-mortem examination will be conducted to determine the exact cause of death. Authorities are continuing to investigate the circumstances surrounding Kissoon's passing. Further updates will be provided as more information becomes available. Authorities investigating the death of Derek Satin Persad in Cummings Lodge. Authorities are investigating the tragic death of 54-year-old Derek Satin Persad, also known as Chow Mein Man, following a distressing incident that occurred on Tuesday at 4th Street, Cummings Lodge. Preliminary reports indicate that around noon, a 64-year-old brush cutter operator was working in a nearby yard when he was approached by a man identified only as Leo. Leo allegedly sought the operator's assistance in helping to remove Satin Persad, who was reportedly entangled in the grillwork of a fence. Upon closer inspection, the operator discovered Satin Persad unresponsive, with the upper part of his body caught in the fence. Emergency services were immediately alerted, and a medical team from the Georgetown Public Hospital Corporation arrived at the scene, where a doctor pronounced Satin Persad dead. A crime laboratory team from the Criminal Investigation Department, CID, headquarters processed the scene. Meanwhile, police are actively searching for the individual known as Leo for questioning as part of the ongoing investigation. Satin Persad's body has since been transported to the Memorial Gardens Funeral Home, where a post-mortem examination will be conducted to determine the cause of death. The investigation into the circumstances surrounding Satin Persad's death is ongoing, and further updates will be provided as more information becomes available. Police officers under investigation for alleged role in illegal aircraft and drug trafficking in Interior District. News source Guyana reports the Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit, CANU, has launched an extensive investigation into the discovery of 4.4 tons of cocaine buried near an illegal airstrip in Region 1. The probe has widened to include allegations of local police officers facilitating the movement of illegal aircraft and drugs in the area. CANU, in collaboration with the Guyana Defense Force and the U.S. Drug Enforcement Agency, initiated the investigation without notifying local police stationed in the region, raising concerns about possible collusion between law enforcement personnel and drug traffickers. Reports suggest that the decision to exclude local police from the initial stages of the investigation may have been due to allegations of their involvement in the illicit activities. CANU Director James Singh confirmed that both Acting Police Commissioner Clifton Hicken and the crime chief have been briefed on the situation. From all indications, most of the persons involved in this are foreign nationals. However, there is speculation of local assistance, which is still being investigated. The police commissioner, crime chief, and I are collaborating on this matter, Singh said. While investigations continue, Acting Police Commissioner Hicken expressed surprise at the reports of police involvement, stating that he only became aware of the allegations through media reports. "I don't know about that. I saw something published in the papers, and we don't operate that way. If there is involvement, it will be thoroughly investigated." Kanu is handling it for now, Hicken remarked. Singh highlighted the complexity of the operation, stating that the illegal airstrip and drug trafficking activities could not have been executed without local support. This operation required significant local involvement, whether knowingly or unknowingly. Building an airstrip, fueling planes, and managing such a massive drug trafficking operation would have been impossible without local assistance. We are working with various agencies and local communities to determine the extent of this support, Singh added. Kanu's investigation is ongoing, and international support has been enlisted to assist with the inquiry into the $200 million drug bust, marking one of the largest narcotic seizures in Guyana's history. Friendship man sentenced to 12 years for manslaughter. On Tuesday, a 24-year-old man, Zibian Williams, was sentenced to 12 years in prison for the unlawful killing of 23-year-old Joshua Ferdinand. The fatal incident occurred in December 2021 at Friendship, East Bank Demerara, EBD. Williams had previously pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of manslaughter at the High Court in Georgetown, and the sentence was handed down by Justice Zamila Ali-Paul. Initially charged with murder, Williams opted to plead guilty to manslaughter, admitting that on December 20, 2021, he unlawfully killed Ferdinand. The court heard that on the night of the incident, Williams was at a shop in Friendship when an argument erupted between him and the deceased's aunt. Joshua Ferdinand intervened, shoving Williams into a nearby trench. In retaliation, Williams emerged from the trench, pulled out a knife, and stabbed Ferdinand twice, causing fatal injuries to his neck and abdomen. Ferdinand was rushed to the Diamond Hospital but was pronounced dead on arrival. In her ruling, Justice Ali-Paul considered both aggravating and mitigating factors, including Williams' use of a knife, the unarmed status of the victim, and the fact that Ferdinand was young and had a promising future ahead. On the mitigating side, the judge acknowledged Williams' clean criminal record, his positive probation report, and his remorseful attitude, as well as his early guilty plea. The court also took into account his pre-trial detention, ultimately sentencing him to 12 years in prison. During a previous hearing, the court heard an emotional impact statement from Ferdinand's mother, who described her son as loving, peaceful, and supportive. She expressed the profound and lasting impact his death has had on the family, stating that Christmas has never been the same since his death. She asked the court for a harsh punishment for Williams, showing no mercy for the man who killed her son. In contrast, the prison welfare officer testified to Williams' good behavior while in detention, noting his participation in rehabilitation programs, including anger management classes. Williams also addressed the court, expressing deep regret and sorrow for his actions, asking Ferdinand's family for forgiveness, and pleading for leniency in his sentencing. State Prosecutor Padma Dubraj, emphasizing the seriousness of the crime, recommended a starting sentence of 25 years, referencing the deterrence theory to highlight the need for criminal sanctions to serve as a warning to potential future offenders. Ferdinand's death, according to Dubraj, was violent and unjustified, made even more egregious by the fact that Williams fled the scene after stabbing Ferdinand. Defense attorney Ronald Bostwick, in his mitigation plea, reiterated that his client had taken responsibility for his actions by pleading guilty early in the proceedings, avoiding the need for a lengthy trial. He urged the judge to issue a sentence that would allow Williams an opportunity to rebuild his life after serving his time and to contribute to society upon his release. Counselors involved in illegal sale of state lands to face charges, Attorney General. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Anil Nandlal, has issued a stern warning to individuals involved in the illegal sale or rental of government-owned lands by local councils. Speaking during his weekly Issues in the News program on Tuesday evening, Minister Nandlal emphasized that lands owned by towns and communities cannot be sold or leased by mayors, town councils, or neighborhood democratic councils, NDCs, without the requisite authorization. He stressed that both the buyers and sellers involved in these transactions will face legal action as these practices are being actively reported to law enforcement. The sale is contrary to statute, it is illegal. Those who are pretending to sell state lands do not have the authority to do so, which means they are receiving money under false pretenses. This constitutes fraud, and buyers participating in such transactions are also complicit in the crime, the Attorney General stated. Once the matters reach the courts, buyers will lose any money paid for these lands, while sellers will be required to repay the sums they collected. This will result in financial losses for both parties involved, Nandlal explained. The Attorney General also noted that the local authority areas, LAAs, which include NDCs and municipalities, are governed by the Ministry of Local Government and are prohibited from selling or renting state lands without ministerial consent. Despite formal warnings from the Ministry of Local Government, the issue continues to persist, with certain LAAs reportedly selling lands to councillors and others in the community. NDCs have no power to rent or sell state lands within their jurisdictions without the permission of the responsible minister. These individuals were elected to serve on NDCs, not to dispose of public property, Nandlall emphasized. He further clarified that these state lands are reserved for future community use. Should any ambiguities in the laws arise, Nandlall confirmed that legislative amendments would be made to ensure clarity and compliance. There are currently 9 municipalities and nearly 60 neighborhood democratic councils across the country. The councillors leading these bodies were elected during the local government elections held in 2023. Attorney General Anil Nandlall announces review of cybercrime law. Attorney General and Minister of Legal Affairs, Anil Nandlall, SC, has announced an impending review of Guyana's Cybercrime Act to address the growing misuse of social media platforms for targeting private citizens. Speaking during his weekly program, Issues in the News, the Attorney General emphasized the government's commitment to addressing the misuse of digital platforms, which he described as a weapon against the citizens of this country. Highlighting the severity of the issue, Nandlall stated, "A government cannot stand idly by in the face of such an onslaught on its citizens. That government would be failing in its responsibilities." He noted that unregulated information on social media is causing widespread damage to individuals' reputations and character, including their families. The Attorney General affirmed the need for urgent action, stating, "A regulatory framework must be installed quickly to arrest this situation, and the penalties for violations must be severe. What we are facing is an exceptional situation, and exceptional situations require exceptional responses." Guyana's Cybercrime Act. Guyana's Cybercrime Act, passed in 2018, addresses harassment via electronic media. Section 19 of the Act specifies that it is an offense to use a computer system to intimidate or threaten violence against another person or their family, transmit obscene electronic data, publish or send electronic data that damages the reputation of another person or subjects them to public ridicule, contempt, hatred, or embarrassment. Penalties under this section range from fines of 5 million Guyanese dollars and 3 years imprisonment upon summary conviction, to 10 million Guyanese dollars and 10 years imprisonment for conviction on indictment. Safeguarding freedom of expression. The Attorney General refuted claims that the government's efforts were aimed at controlling freedom of expression. He stressed that while freedom of speech and freedom of the press are fundamental rights, these freedoms do not extend to attacking another person's character or family. International collaboration and legislative review. The review of the Cybercrime Act will be supported by Guyanese experts who recently participated in crafting an international convention under the United Nations to govern cyberspace. Deputy Chief Parliamentary Counsel Joan Bond and Trishala Persad will assist in aligning Guyana's legislation with this global framework. According to Nandlall, the review process will be completed, and amendments will be tabled in the National Assembly following its recess in October 2024. Further legislative reforms. The Law Reform Commission, recently sworn in, has also been tasked with reviewing statutory criminal procedure provisions. A key area of focus will be enabling smoother service of legal documents to individuals overseas who use cyberspace to commit offenses in Guyana. The Commission is expected to recommend amendments to eliminate technical legal objections, including jurisdictional challenges in cybercrime matters.